Okay, I'd like to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for Thursday, March 14th, 2024. First item is action approval of minutes from February 6th, 2024 special meeting. Councilor Sullivan, you were not at that meeting, I believe.
I believe that's the case. I'm
So-
going to double check my memory here.
I think it says you're out.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, we'll table that until next meeting to approve. So with that, we'll go on to item 2, update special revenue fund.
Okay, on our special revenue fund report, we probably have a couple items. So just point out the special rec program, they're at a balance of over 200,000. We'll start seeing that increase as they start collecting for the upcoming spring programs. Next, just pointing out the $1 million for the ARPA, that's reserved for transfer to fund balance at the end of the year for $1,080,000. We have a couple of other items that are pending reimbursement for the state. That'd be the items number 33 and 36 for the for farm. And those should be the highlights of where we are on special revenues. If there's any questions on specifics.
Anything from you, Bill?
Just a question again on the special revenue fund for police private duty. And those are dollars, that's typically spent for vehicles and things like that, or other equipment type needs?
No, actually, the private duty is, we had just increased the rates, in fact, for that, and that should be paying for the cost of the officers and employee benefits. So that should, for the most part, be a wash. They also have an obligation that we've had, it'll be next year, will be the third year, when we move to the defined benefit to contribute $150,000 per year. So we'll see the 150 come off of that at year end.
So this balance that we're showing, this 179,000, that's just a timing issue between when money comes in and when it's expended
Exactly.
on the officer. So it's not like an accruing surplus or anything from
No.
over a period of time. Okay.
I will say that if you're referring to vehicles, if you look at, and it's Fund 9, that's asset forfeiture.
That must be the one I'm thinking
That
of.
would be the one that they are receiving the money after the claims are settled at even the federal level, and they divide up anything, disperse it there. They've been able to pick up some vehicles through that fund. So that 200,000 will stay until expended.
And that's money that's recovered at the state level, and then it's allocated to the towns based on
It's,
population.
in many cases, it's going to federal level. So asset forfeiture actually goes to a federal review as well. It's shared town, so it's going to be reported and then gets divvied up that way. So it could be other towns, it could be other states, depending on what the case was. We actually have quite a few of them still pending. Obviously, there's the larger situations, and it takes quite a bit of review. So we still have some that can go back at least 2, in some cases 3 years, the oldest, that's still pending a final review.
Okay, thank you.
Just real quick, so the ARPA money, will that become a zero balance at the end of the fiscal year? Is that, so that'll be gone after June 30th?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, and to be more well, I'll be exact, there will actually be about $50,000 in there because we will have the third installment of the license plate reader. And since ARPA closes in December of '26, the third payment for the LPR system will occur in July of the 25-26.
Gotcha, okay,
But basically wiped out.
great. And the recreation program of about 235,000, is that kind of the low balance for, like, what does that balance get down to? Is this basically the low point
This
of the
is
year?
going to be the low point. You'll see that be about 200,000.
Right. So there's kind of always an excess 200,000 there. Does that get ever used? Will we ever draw down to use it for something else, or use it for them for something, or like what's the plan?
Yeah, what we try to do, at least from finance, is to monitor and see if that cushion stays for a couple of years. So about 3 years back, we saw that the threshold was getting higher than that 200,000, and we sweep the money and put it to transfer to general fund.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha, okay. Great. With that, we'll move on to item 3, reserve for capital and non-recurring expenditure fund through February 29th.
yes. So on non-recurring, not a lot of activity on the top half being any of the town expenses. We did have the $47,000 for the revaluation group, since we have finished the reval for this year. Then some smaller expenditures occurring from Board of Ed. They are wrapping up their final expenses for the science program, and we anticipate that 105,613 that you see, which is a net number under school, should probably close to be zeroed out with the final expenses.
Okay. Any questions?
So with respect to the assessments, so when we had the Meet the Department presentation, the tax assessor made a pitch for annual revals as opposed to every 5 years. What is the decision-making process for whether or not we're going to make that change? Is that something that would require town council approval?
Yes, through the budget process, it's a CIP item. So you'll see it show up as a CIP item. Ordinarily, we'll do about 20,000 per year. This would be 40,000 per year. So along with every other item that we have on the general budgets, for review. So if, it's approved, we'd go forward with that.
So going to annual then, as opposed to every 5 years, it would be a difference of $20,000 expenditure per year? That's what's estimated?
Correct.
And the town manager's budget is in the works. Is that, the suspense is killing me. Is it your intention, or if you're at liberty to disclose at this point, is it
Yes.
anticipated that that's going to be in there?
It will be an item,
It will be in
yes.
All right. And I guess, will there be an opportunity for, I guess it'll be during the workshop process that we can discuss the merits of that or non-merits of that change of approach?
Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Will Stuart come before us as far as getting approval and then go up to the council and finance, I'm saying, or does it just go right to the council?
It will be proposed in my budget,
Okay.
and then, like, every year, we sit down and go through the budget, and if there are questions, we'll have Stuart come up to answer. If you have questions about how that process takes place,
Mhm.
how you initiate it. It is a cost, it's already included
It will be,
in
yes.
the proposed budget we're working on now.
I mean, I feel that's more than a budget item. I mean, it's not just a question of, are we going to spend 20,000 a year or 40,000 a year, but it's something that has a potential impact on the taxpayers, a substantive impact from year to year. And I don't know, just for the record, I'm not convinced that should just be, that policy decision should just be framed as something that we take up as part of the budget workshop process. I think it's a policy change that may warrant its own presentation and discussion at the council level. That's my opinion. I'll see.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we will include it in the budget, but it won't become effective until, like you say, until a council decision on a particular item.
Yeah, but
And
again,
actually-
I don't think
I
it's,
have your,
yeah, I don't think it's just a budget item. I think my point is, I don't think it's something that should be reserved for the budget workshop process or just framed as a budget item. I think it's a policy change item that requires a more thorough airing from a policy standpoint before the full council. So I'm just going to give you a preview. That's what my thinking is on that, because it's the sort of thing that's it's not just another $20,000 a year for the town. It's going to have, if it's implemented, it's going to have a unpredictable impact on individual taxpayers here, and that's something that requires a full airing, I think, before we just treat it as a budget item. So that's
Yeah,
that's my
so
2
I think,
cents.
as I was going to, just kind of chime in, that, yes, if the funding is there, but because this would be a multi-year commitment, because obviously, if we went that way, then you'd have to have the group, then it would have to still come through finance, you'd
Yeah.
have to come through, we would never go forward with a multi-year commitment to do something like that, so it'll have, once funding is identified, that then it has to come through finance, and then if we had to go to council, which would be up to finance to decide, so, yeah, we couldn't go forward with that
At
commitment.
that point, it'd be a policy discussion.
yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to say, but I didn't say it.
What the impacts might be in the future and how that will.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
gotcha, okay. Any other questions?
Nope. Thank you.
No questions from me, so we'll move on to item 4, state aid to municipalities for the 2023-24 budget.
Nothing new to report on that. We received the payments we're expecting through January. February is not a planned month for receiving state revenue, but we are current and nothing outstanding from state revenues.
Okay. Any,
Nothing, thank you.
okay. We'll move on to item 5, monthly financial report, pre-audit.
So I will just jump ahead to the, I guess it'll be the third page, that is for the tax collector. You can see that the benchmark, that we are just above the benchmark. So we're in very good place with the tax department. We're at the 98.5 and planning for 98.88, so that's really a good standing. As you can see, motor vehicle supplementals are ahead of what we have in the past, as well as the prior year collections is almost the same as the prior year, which is actually quite good, considering we are not going through a tax sale process. This is just payments of prior year, so overall tax revenues in very good standing. I had mentioned already the state revenues, so otherwise on the revenue side, interest continues to exceed the budget. You'll see in next year's budget that we'll adjust the revenue so that the budget amount should be more neck and neck with the actual collections of interest. We're also over, or I should say exceeding the benchmark at 84% on building fees, and the other recordings and conveyance are on target as well. As for expenditures, I still have my same group. Again, these smaller overtime lines, they stand out on a page, so they're worth mentioning, but dollar-wise, not a major impact. Tree services, again, we've had experience with some increase in cost, so that will be over budget, offset by other lines in the Parks Department. We're showing 7 months of activity for any of the major sanitation, and as well as 3/4 on MDC, as well as 3/4 on insurances as well. The expenses for Board of Education is through January. We tend to have that 30-day lag in reporting. And other than that, we have made the pension contributions, so those lines should be on the high side as expended year to date. So if you have any questions on,
I should know this, overtime does not appear as a separate line item, does it?
no, it doesn't. You'll see, well, it can show on the object summary, which is the page, which is multi-page. There's like 4 or 5 pages to it, and it's account 5130. So in that particular reporting format, you'll see all overtimes grouped together. However, to see them individually, that 16-page is easier to track it by looking at each department, be it assessor, tax, and so forth down the line. But if you see the best picture of overtime as a group is to take that one slice picture of it by object code.
So I'm looking at line item 5130 for overtime, and it shows that we are at 88% of what was budgeted for the full year, and we are at the 75%, right?
About 60.
No, we're at the 2/3 point of the year,
yeah.
right? Yeah, we are 8 months into the 12-month year.
7/12.
So we want to be at 66.6, and we are well ahead of that 88% plus. So can you tell us what's driving that?
Well, I think we had in the summary, we've got a few departments that are contributing to it. I'd say it's the smaller ones don't add to the dollar impact of that, but what you get is dispatch, for example, had vacancies, so they're covering with overtime. So I won't flip through the pages as I talk, we'll just go from highway is probably in the 70%-ish without taking a quick look at the page. Of course, they should be close to whatever they're going to spend because we've got through the winter months. I mean, at this point, it should taper off. So it's almost like the peaks and valleys. Highway has hit its max, and then you won't see it increase toward the end of the year.
Why would highway be ahead of what was budgeted? We had a very, very mild winter. We only had a couple of plowing events. So can you explain
I
why,
would
given
love
that,
to.
that they would be ahead of what was budgeted for overtime?
Yeah, well, they're not necessarily ahead of, they are where they should be. And what we did this year, as compared to the past, where they'd have the tendency to have the budget amount and exceed, I'm going to give town manager credit, what we did is, we reduced that overtime line, and we lived up to staying within that line. So we actually reduced, I think, close to $50,000 in overtime that we had experienced in the past on things that were not snow, like leaf collection or that type of thing. So even though if you look at the dollar amount and the amount expended, if you compared it to prior years, the amount expended is less and the budget is more tailored to what should be spent.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
And the, so if I look at like other salaries, we're at just under 73%, which is a little bit high. Is that all from the overtime driving that, offset by some, there's probably some full-time positions and things that weren't
Correct,
filled or whatever. so-
right, as well as, we have contract settlements, so if we have, which one did we have recently? 288, which was the highway, oops, I think they don't call themselves 288, IOUE, contract settled. So you'll see the retros for that group in there. So it'd be salaries not budgeted, but paid through July 1. And that was really not that it's a large driver, but it did make that lean high.
And going back to the previous page, employee benefits is at 81%. Is that just timing of payments?
Exactly.
I don't have any other questions.
I don't, thank you.
With that, I think the next item on the agenda is item 6, other. Anything on your end, Ray Ramona?
Yeah, well, I was going to bring our brand-new plaque for our GFOA award, but I think it's
forgot
still
it?
in.
Shall I go get it?
Well, we don't have a nail to hang it on the wall,
Well, we
but
can show it.
we can
can
show
show it,
our brand-new plaque, because that one was filled. And so the new GFOA award for the fiscal year and my first fiscal year
at
as
you, one for
finance
one.
director, so I have a plaque all of my own.
Excellent.
So what is GFOA?
Government Finance Officer Association.
Okay.
And that particular plaque is going to be for the financial reports, the audit. But we also, I'd like to remind everyone that we got our first GFOA award for budget. Their plaques or whatever they're going to send is coming out in a few months, so, yeah.
Very good.
Need a bigger wall, maybe.
Super. Yeah. We just keep going across. So we got it. Look at that. Beautiful. There you go.
Very nice.
Congratulations to Mona and
Did you
everybody.
Zoom in there?
Congratulations.
Wait, it says 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get another little button for 23?
223.
It's just-
God, it feels like forever ago.
They're behind.
Yep,
Well, great job.
thank you.
Glad to see it. So,
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well deserved.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.